AI is kind of the thing right now. And, I have a lot of feelings about it. I think it's cool. I enjoy it. We use AI in our business in a lot of different ways, but there's some problems with it. And right now, one of the big things in the real estate industry is AI, specifically ChatGPT and Zillow being integrated. And I was playing around with it a little bit and made a little Facebook post and had some people chiming in, and it got me thinking in some different ways. And then Tara said, hey, you should go make a video about this. So it's been a while since I've had a video. And so here I am just to kind of play around with the Zillow AI integration and talk about some of the issues, because it's interesting. It's interesting, right? So I made a Facebook post, and let me just kind of show you here. I'd asked if anybody else had played around with this AI integration. And what I'd originally found when I was messing around with it was that it didn't work very well. I was asking it to do things and it just wasn't coming up with kind of what I wanted it to do. And so I kind of jokingly was like, well, Zillow / ChatGPT, or Chillo, as I named it, it hasn't replaced us just yet. But we're also, as real estate professionals, having to battle with the consumers using these tools and the misconceptions that they may have. But there's a lot more going on here. So let's just kind of get into it and play around with it. So I'm just going to open up my ChatGPT here. And if you haven't messed with this yet, ChatGPT allows you to add different sources and connections. So I connected Zillow. And so let's give it a test here. I'm gonna ask it something. Let's see. Let's do schools, because one of the comments somebody came up with was some issues with schools. So show me all the houses for sale in the Putnam City School District in Oklahoma City and surrounding areas. This is where I grew up. I went to Putnam City School District. So we'll see what it comes up with. So I've asked Zillow. We'll see what it does. So it's connecting to the app. It's going to come up with a little map here that is supposed to have all the listings here. We'll see how it does, because sometimes I was asking it to do things and it was just giving me like random selections. So, it tells me that these are all the listings in that district, filtered for single family homes, condos, and townhomes currently listed for sale. So we'll click on this and expand it and get a more robust look here. And it tells me that they have, current filters: Oklahoma City, for sale, home types, and school district. Those are the filters that it has. Okay. Sure. I have no idea if this is accurate or not. I can't tell you if this is going to be exactly Putnam City School District. It's probably pretty close. Yeah, that might be right. I don't know. It's probably pretty close. So we'll come over here and look. We're going to click on one. Here you go. Let's see what it says. We're going to click on it. Shows me the listing, gives me some information. Good old Zestimate. Motivated seller. Hey, pro tip, don't ever work with unmotivated sellers. Unmotivated sellers make for very bad clients. So yeah, motivated, that's good. What else do we have here? It's got some information, some basic stuff. Okay, that's fine. Well, let's ask Zillow some more about this particular listing. So if we're asking about schools, I don't see that this has any kind of school ranking. So sometimes people are concerned about schools. And so I want to kind of address this. And I want to caveat this a little bit before I go any further. And I'm a lawyer, but none of this is legal advice. This is not your lawyer. This is just kind of me pontificating and thinking through and kind of stream of conscious. So, don't put too much stock into this. We're just kind of playing around with it. So let's ask it, are the schools for this listing good? Let's ask it a question that like maybe a consumer would ask, right? A buyer might say, oh, the school's any good. Let's see what it says. Okay, we got a bunch of stuff going on here. So first of all, it is telling me Yes, I checked the schools, and here's what I found. What good means can vary: test scores, graduation programs, safety, etc. But I'll show you the metrics, and you can decide what matters most to you. I mean, that's actually not like a bad answer, really. I mean, because here's the deal with schools. Okay, when people ask about schools, some people have been taught that answering questions about schools is like de facto Fair Housing Act violation. I don't necessarily think that's accurate. Okay. What's problematic is that school quality, so to speak, depending on how you define it, like can be very subjective, right? Like what good schools mean to one person could be different from somebody else. Like maybe test scores is what somebody means. Maybe teacher to student ratio, maybe the quality of their band program, maybe the quality of their sports teams. I mean, good schools can mean any number of things. And where the fair housing issue comes in is where we start giving our subjective opinion that could bring in things that are protected classes, right? So for it to be steering, people talk about steering under the Fair Housing Act, and it's like, where steering is a problem is like, well, I'm going to direct people of this race or this religion to this area because that's where those people live. And so things like school district and like good schools, bad schools can become proxies for things like race, for example, right? That's where there is problems with school stuff. It's not simply, I think this school sucks and I'm telling you I think this school sucks. I mean, that's not in and of itself a fair housing violation. It just isn't, because that's not necessarily, like, not on its face saying, hey, this is where people of a certain race live, okay? But that means that we have to be diligent for these kinds of things. And so look, you can even, this article from NAR from a couple years ago talks about how to handle client questions about schools and neighborhoods, and it's got some really good stuff in here. And I liked how they have a quote from somebody, Ron Phipps. He's a broker at Phipps Realty in Rhode Island, said that he explains when people ask him about schools that he is their source of sources, meaning like he's not going to weigh in because he's not an expert on schools. What's important to them could be different than what's important to other people. And so for him to just give his personal opinion is not really relevant to that particular buyer's indication of whether that's a good school or not. And so, he doesn't want to lead them down that road. And so understanding the legal side, they talk about, NAR in 2014 gave some guidance on this. And they talk about this, where steering occurs when an agent directs a buyer toward or away from a neighborhood because of the buyer's race, national origin, religion, or other characteristic protected under the Fair Housing Act. And then it's like, how do schools integrate with that? Because school district and how good a school is not a protected class, okay? This is where then they kind of continue on to say one way that directing them to a particular area can occur is when they're saying their own positive or negative views about communities or schools, the purpose of which is to direct a buyer towards a particular community, where the agent may be stating a housing preference based on race, national origin, or other protected characteristics, right? So it's where these things can become proxies for protected classes. It's not that the quality of schools is on its face has anything to do necessarily with protected classes, but it starts to tread into that territory. And so that's why we want to be careful about that, because it can quickly become problematic when, again, like they say, it leads us down a potential slippery slope. So it's not saying like, oh, it's a good school is like by itself a Fair Housing Act violation. It's that it starts to tread into that characteristic. And so that's why we don't necessarily want to do that. But I like this idea of being a source of sources. And so you want to help your buyers, for example, if they're asking about schools and you can't just be like, I can't talk to you about schools. That's not always helpful, right? And so one of the things that actually came up is that, we can look at some different areas that do school ranking. Like you can provide objective sources, you can point them to places, you can say, here's where you can go to that school district and get information from them. One thing that they actually recommended in this article is like, if you look at RPR, and let me get logged into RPR as I talk about this, we can actually kind of pull this information, some of it from RPR, right? And this is like something that we have access to. And so let me find that address. It doesn't really matter. Let me just pull up RPR here and let's see how they show school information. So if I just pull up a random Oklahoma City here and pick a random house, let's just go down here. Sure, active. Let's click on that and let's see what it says. So one of the things we might look at as we look down, where does it show schools? It's on here somewhere. RPR is great. Okay, so here they're quoting niche. Right. And so it's got the school district. I was actually looking at Putnam City School District, Hefner Middle School, Putnam City North. Okay. And when you click on it, it's going to give you some information about it. You can even dig into the specific school. It's giving some ratings and student to teacher. And I mean, it's giving you a lot of information here. And like, nobody's saying like, this is a fair housing violation to provide this information. I mean, maybe some people are, but like this is from NAR. Like NAR created RPR and is providing this information. So this is what they're saying is like, if you want to create a report based on a school from RPR, like maybe that's a better way to do it than to say, yeah, I think this school's great, or no, I don't think this school is any good. Okay. So I don't know, little kind of side note there about the schools, but let's go back to ChatGPT here and see what it said. So yeah, so I mean, I do like this, like what's good can vary. I mean, that's true. Schools for that listing. So it gives a couple of, is that right? Well, I don't know. How do the schools perform? So it's giving me student teacher ratios. On niche, it has a C. So, I mean, look, it's pulling from niche that was referenced on homes.com, which is what RPR was looking at too. Academic proficiency is low. Only 11% of students reach proficiency in math. So where's this getting this? US News, School Digger. Okay, so it's giving you sources. It's ranked in the bottom half. Interesting. That's very interesting. So, I don't know. I mean, it's giving some, okay, strengths, challenges, or concerns. Math proficiency is low. I'm wondering if this is like actually citing correctly. So we go to Putnam City. Okay, well, I mean, it's pulling this from the school's website. I guess math proficiency. This is not something listen, I don't have children, so I don't look at school stuff. So I'm looking at this as if I'm somebody that just like doesn't know. So we're actually getting facts from, it's pulling directly from the school district's website, which is kind of interesting. And then overall takes. All right, let's see what it's, the assigned middle school shows some significant performance concerns, especially in math. There are some strengths in smaller class sizing and reading performance that are encouraging. Good is relative. For many families, these metrics might be a red flag. For others, proximity, school programs, improvement plans might offset lower standardized scores. I mean, that's interesting. I don't know. Interesting. So, I don't know. Like, is that a fair housing violation? Like, I don't know that I necessarily saw anything that is a direct fair housing violation. And, we're going to get into where this information, like who's providing it and that kind of stuff. But just purely on like the information it's giving about schools, I don't know that I immediately saw anything that I'm like, oh, major red flag. I mean, it's giving you sources where that's a nice advertisement. Thank you. I guess this is coming from Public School Review. So that's not from the actual school's website. But if it's giving you objective data that is cited, interesting. Something that you're going to have to contend with there for sure. But it's also quoting niche, which is something that like RPR is coming from and all that. So kind of interesting. Somebody else had asked about things like demographics. So let's actually ask about that. What are the demographics of the maybe neighborhood? Let's just ask it that. See if it answers that. Because I did earlier in testing, like, ask it to provide like listings based on race. I was like, will it do it? To try to connect like race demographics that might be from like census data to providing me, well, where did it go? It disappeared. Okay, well, nice. What did I ask it? What are the demographics of this neighborhood? Let's try it again. Let's see if it won't just disappear this time. And it wouldn't do it. I mean, it specifically said like, listen, that can be a fair housing issue. Oh my gosh, a lot of data. What's happening here? Okay, let's find where that question was. Demographic profile for the neighborhood/city area where it sits, War Acres. Okay, so let's see what it says. Demographics gives you population. I mean, it does give you race and ethnicity. But it's quoting census.gov. So, I mean, I don't know that like that in and of itself, like for it to just give you the data by asking for it and it's objective census data. That's interesting. I mean, I don't think that's a fair housing violation in and of itself. Oh, and it gets even more local area around the listing, gives you income data. Interesting. I was giving a lot of data. War Acres demographics. So that's like the kind of town area that it's in. What this tells us. This is where it starts to get concerning. Like there's one thing with like presenting census data. Like, okay, you're telling me even the race or religion of people within it that is like objective census data. Like that is not necessarily in my mind a fair housing violation. For it to just objectively present data. Where it starts to say what this tells us about it is where we start to certainly get a lot closer. Slightly older demographic. The broader city is fairly diverse. So that's, the high foreign-born share suggests a substantial immigrant / multi-ethnic component in the area. Now, that's where, again, we're starting to venture into more this, like suggests things about racial makeups of the area. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that. I don't think that's a good, I don't know that, I mean, I think we're running into some potential questionable issues here, where we're making suggestions. It's one thing to present objective data. It's a different to present opinions based on that data when that data is leading us towards conclusions about people based on protected classes. And like, do I want to live in this area based on it? I mean, at the end of the day, like if a consumer wants to look up data and make decisions based on that census data, whatever, I mean, they get to do that. But when we as the real estate professional are presenting that information, we run into problems here, And so when people ask these questions from us, that's where we have to lean towards saying, look, there's objective places to get. I don't know the demographic makeup. I don't have the tools to look that up. I can't make suggestions or interpretations of it. You can certainly look up census data, but man, that's interesting. We're starting to venture into different areas. So let's look at crime. Someone had asked me about crime stuff. So is this a safe neighborhood, right? I'm trying to think like, what would a buyer perhaps ask about this, right? And so let's see what it says. It's searching the web. Gosh, it goes so fast. Interesting. Okay, let's see. Is this a safe neighborhood? Safe is a bit subjective depending on your tolerance, what kind of crimes concern you, time of day, but here's what local data shows. Okay, and it's presenting, again, what appears to just be data. Property crime, comparisons. The crime rate in work is 85% higher than U.S. average. That just seems interesting. Local rankings on niche, where C for crime and safety, F in overall crime grade. Where are they getting this? Crimegrade.org. I don't know anything about it. I've never looked up this kind of stuff. So we're getting some rankings, but where are they providing that? And I don't know anything about, well, that doesn't seem good. It's giving me a source that, oops, something went wrong. Okay. What does it do here? Crime grade. Again, it's pulling maps. Loading interactive. Interesting. Okay. Load interactive map. Again, I've not used this, so this is interesting. So it's saying crime grade, violent crime. Interesting. So is this problematic? Trends. What this implies. Again, this is where I think there's a difference between this just presenting data and then drawing conclusions for you. It's trying to, I can see that it's trying to do here's the pros and cons, good in terms of violent crime, that you're less likely to experience. Caution around property crime, block to block variation. Even in a city with higher some neighborhoods or blocks are much safer, well maintained. I mean, I get what it's trying to do here. It's trying to thread a needle, it seems like. And then it's giving you some interesting. People are describing it as quiet or pleasant. So I don't know. I think this is certainly a question mark, right? Are we violating? We may not even be 100% directly treading on the Fair Housing Act, but we are certainly venturing into that territory. So, these are things that maybe we would not answer those questions in that way, but here's the reality. The reality is this is a tool that's available, and you're going to have clients that are using it, which I think is noteworthy. Is it accurate? With anything AI, it's always trust but verify. When it's presenting information, do I know that that's true, or did it hallucinate that? And I know that it tends to hallucinate less than it used to, but how do we know that's true? The other issue here that I want to talk about is this is a Zillow integration to ChatGPT. Now, there are some IDX feed MLS rule issues of should Zillow even be doing this? And I'm not an MLS expert. I'm not an MLS lawyer or anything like that. So I certainly think there are some major red flags here, because we as brokers, can we take our IDX feeds, pull all that data, and then give it to somebody else? And I'm pretty sure the answer is no. So I think we might have an IDX feed, maybe, I don't know. I'm not an expert, but there's certainly some questions there as to whether Zillow should be giving IDX feed or whatever their feed is data to Zillow, and how that integration threads a needle. Look, they're a multi-billion-dollar company. Both of them are. They have lawyers that charge a heck of a lot more than I do. So I'm sure they've looked at it every which way and have made some sort of determination that they can do this. Whether they're right or not, I don't know. But then when we're asking about this data, so Zillow is a broker in, as far as I know, every state, so that they can get IDX feeds and so forth. So they're a real estate brokerage in some capacity. They're providing this data, and they're integrating with ChatGPT. And then, so who's providing this information? When I'm asking it these questions about schools and crime, and is this a good, all these things that a consumer is going to ask them. So we have to think about it this is assuming we're a consumer asking them, not me as a real estate professional. And that answer's coming back. Who do I attribute that to? Zillow or ChatGPT or both? Who's responsible for it? Is Zillow responsible for that information that is presented, or is ChatGPT? Which means if there is a Fair Housing Act violation, is it Zillow, who is a real estate brokerage that's presenting that, who's going to be subject to it? Or is it ChatGPT, who is not a brokerage? And what does that mean? Look, we saw Meta, for example, and Facebook getting a lot of heat because they were providing targeting tools for advertising, rentals and things like that. I mean, they had to settle that case with the FTC, I think it was, to change the tools that they have so that you can't target people so specifically on protected classes when you're advertising properties. So is ChatGPT then potentially running into the Fair Housing Act, or is Zillow, or both? I mean, this is, I don't know. This is an interesting thing to kind of think about. we're going to have to contend with this though. Like at the end of the day, that's going to sort itself out one way or the other. I mean, I don't have any control over that. What I do have control over is understanding these tools, probably getting in and playing with it and seeing what's happening, asking it questions to see like what kind of things, put yourself in the mind of a consumer and like what are they going to be asking it, because that's what they're going to be coming to ask us about and bringing this data. Well, ChatGPT said, and now like everybody's doing their own research. And so you're having to contend with that as a factor. It's interesting. And this is just a broader issue with all of the stuff going on in AI and the tools that are available, the way that in terms of content creation, in terms of the data that it's providing, and is it accurate, is it not? And people used to say, well, I Googled this thing and here's the answer. And now they're saying, well, I ChatGPT'd it and here's the answer. And it's changing the way things are happening. It's moving very fast. And so this is something that I think is very interesting. So Zillow is going to have some questions, I suspect, to answer in ChatGPT about the MLS compliance. Like, are we violating IDX feed rules, and what are our MLSs / NAR in terms of, their position going to be about this? Have they already looked at it and signed off on it? I mean, we don't know. I don't know. From that regulatory perspective of the Fair Housing Act, how's that look? And then another aspect is, if I ask this for advice, what would be a question that I could ask it that basically would be licensable activity, that like a real estate licensee should be answering, not somebody who's not? What do you think? I'm trying to think of something that I could ask it that would let's ask it a couple questions. How can I make an offer on this house? See what it says. Okay, it's giving me a process. Contact the listing agent. You and your agent or attorney. So, okay. If you're not already working, you can reach out directly. If you do, they'll contact the listing agent. Decide on your offer terms. Submit an offer. Using the OREC, residential sale. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. Oh, a simple step-by-step outline showing how to fill out the contract. Oh, let's see that. Show me a simple... Yeah, let's ask it to do that. That's getting closer. Show me a simple, and this is clearly coming from ChatGPT and not, I know it says ask Zillow, but this is not Zillow providing that. I mean, this is ChatGPT straight up. It's not asking Zillow. This is not thinking longer. Yeah, better think longer. Providing outline for that's just okay. See, now we're getting into this is going to be a question for the regulatory body, for our real estate commissions out there, right? What's the difference between a tool that's providing this information versus a person? I mean, it may not even do it. I don't know what's happening here, but we're going to let it cook for a minute. Okay, here we go. Does a regulatory body care about this? So does the real estate commission, if a consumer can go on and ask a tool like ChatGPT how to do what is functionally licensable activity, stuff that requires you to have a license. I mean, this is doing a lot of stuff here. And is it accurate? Is it correct? Is this providing advice that protects? Because again, I think about the real estate commission. Their job is to protect the consumer, and they say, here, go get your license. This is thorough. Geez, I'm gonna have to look at all this, but you're asking this tool. Wow, this is interesting. Again, is this tool doing licensable activity? It's not a person. Should it have a license? There's just so many factors. I mean, if I ask it for legal advice and it provides it, I mean, does the Bar Association care about that? If I ask it for medical advice, this is something that we haven't grappled with yet, is the licensing aspect, I mean, maybe this is accurate, but I don't know. If offering, I mean, it's giving opinions here, like earnest money, amount, common, 1 to 2% of the purchase price, but your call. The time when it's due, within 2 business days of execution. That's actually not accurate. That is, okay, who holds the earnest money? Title company or brokerage trust account, and when it's due. Oh, for example, within 2 I don't know if that's presenting that as true, but that's not actually what the contract says. So there you go, right? Okay, so maybe if this is being presented as information, you know, or maybe it says e.g., like for example. So I don't know. Confirm the reason. This is very interesting. This is interesting. So I don't have all the answers. I don't know. I have a lot of issues. I wanted to just kind of get on here, pontificate, play with it, just give you my stream of conscious. If you follow me this long, you're a crazy person. Most of you probably clicked away in the first 2 minutes because this is probably really boring. But there's a lot going on here. I do think that maybe you should get on there and check it out, see what you think. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do we have some potential fair housing issues? Sure. Do we have some regulatory issues? Yeah. Do we have some, IDX MLS rule issues? Sure. There's a lot of issues here. It's going to be interesting. Are your buyers and sellers going to be using this tool though? Yes. And are they going to bring that to you? Yes. And so you need to understand it. You need to know, what's good and bad and how to verify the information and coach your consumers to say, look, it's fine if you're going to go use tools, but look, this is what I'm here for. And to continue to show the value of an actual human, because certainly there's a question as to how many companies might want to be offering something like, when does ChatGPT start writing the contract for you? And again, what is the regulatory implication of that, etc. So I don't know. Maybe this was helpful for you to just kind of see my stream of conscious. Hope you found it interesting. Give me a like and a subscribe if you thought it was. We're going to get back on track doing more videos, but I don't know, just a little stream of conscious. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment. See you next time.